He summoned the silver-winged ant to take a look. He wanted to see how the silver-winged ant would devour the companion egg in reality. Jonas put the companion egg into the mouth of the silver-winged ant. The next moment, he saw the silver-winged ant shimmering with silver light. There was a faint hint of red light shining through inside. The silver and red lights on the silver-winged ant's body grew stronger and stronger, wrapping its entire body within. It's like a huge ball of flame. As the flame gradually subsided, there appeared a silver-winged ant, twice as big as before, displaying characteristics of the fire poison bee on its body. He suspected that fusing with another insect-type companion pet would result in a mutation. When he looked at the information of the silver-winged ant again, indeed, there had been a significant change. Those exaggerated data had almost reached the limit of a legendary pet. Even more surprising to Jonas was that the silver-winged ant actually had an additional vitality technique called Magic Light Needle. Magic Light Needle is a long-range vitality technique that shoots an ultra-high-speed energy needle capable of piercing through enemies. With this silver-winged ant, he can easily kill the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus. Jonas almost without thinking chose to directly enter the game dungeon. Riding the silver-winged ant, he arrived at the side of the lotus pond. He flew towards the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus at the center of the lotus pond. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed to the front of the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus. The petals of the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus contracted, as if wanting to devour the silver-winged ant. The silver-winged ant, which was about to be swallowed, suddenly darted out like a jet, avoiding being engulfed by the petals by several dozen meters. At the same time, its claws slashed towards the petals of the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus like sharp blades. The blood pattern on the petal shimmered. The blood-red Buddha patterns emitted a halo of light, blocking the claws of the silver-winged ant. Although the power of the silver-winged ant is already considered top-notch among legendary-level creatures, it was unable to break through the petals due to the lack of the vitality technique's blessing. The petals did not get cut, but instead opened by themselves, revealing the toad on the lotus platform. The toad opened its mouth and sprayed a poison water arrow towards the silver-winged ant. The silver-winged ant easily dodged, and its tail shimmered with silver light. A silver light shot straight into the toad's forehead. With a bang, Toad exploded and turned into countless poison water arrows shooting through the air. However, the speed at which the poison water arrows shot could not catch up with the flying speed of the silver-winged ant. The silver-winged ant then shot another magic light needle towards the lotus platform. At the moment when the magic light needle pierced the lotus platform, it seems like 2 to 3 dozen columns of blood spurted out like a volcanic eruption. Suddenly, the blood-red bursts turned into a sky full of blood rain falling. It covered an area of nearly 20 meters. Luckily, the silver-winged ant's flying speed was fast enough to dodge the extensive spraying. Otherwise, it might have been melted into blood water. A dimension crystal burst out from the mutation Buddha's heart lotus. Jonas looked at this vitality technique crystal and speculated whether it was the key to entering this small Buddha's temple. Jonas felt the burning desire to evolve his own vital energy technique. It felt like there was a furnace inside his body, just as he was about to be roasted dry. The burning sensation finally slowly subsided. Instead, a cool feeling surged up within him. At the same time, many mysterious pieces of information flooded into Jonas's mind. The absorption of the original skills, Mindfulness Zen, has been upgraded to Blood Zen in the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus dimension crystal. He tried to activate the Blood Zen in his heart, and immediately a cool breath surged out and spread to every corner of his body. A strange blush appeared on his body, looking somewhat unusual. The consumption speed of Qi in Blood Zen is much slower than it is in Mindfulness Zen. Now he has the ability to explore the small Buddhist temple. He couldn't wait to enter the small Buddhist temple in the game. Just as Jonas expected, he ran all the way to the entrance of the small Buddhist temple without any accidents. In the courtyard, there were no dimension living beings found, only a stele standing in the center of the courtyard. He saw clearly that the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra was written on the stele. He couldn't help but feel slightly puzzled. The name, the bigger Prajnaparamita Sutra, is well known far and wide. A Buddhist believer derived the vital energy technique from it, which together with the Agama Sutras, is considered as two epic-level vital energy techniques in the Buddhist faith. He had never heard of the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra, and the name seemed like a joke to him. However, after looking at it carefully for a while, he suddenly felt dizzy and overwhelmed. It felt like his head was about to explode. At a critical moment, the rotation speed of the Immortal's Labyrinth tome in his body suddenly slowed down. The intense headache eased. When he looked at the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra again, the uncomfortable feeling was gone. Suddenly, he remembered that the blood Zen, which had been running all along, was depleting his chi. He headed straight for the main hall facing the gate. After pushing open the door, the first thing he saw was a statue of a Buddha. Although it was just a cute version of the Buddha statue, it still startled Jonas. It turned out to be a Trimukha Buddha resembling a wrathful deity. He took a few steps inside. Jonas's body exploded directly, turning into a pool of blood on the ground. The game screen also instantly turned black. Jonas was scared out of his wits by this scene. This small Buddhist temple is really eerie. It seems like you have to follow a certain rule to get in. He truly admires those predecessors who once carved out a world with just one life. He wants to enter this Buddhist temple. I'm afraid he can only rely on the steel that records the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra. The sutra is too long. Fortunately, unlike the Immortal's Labyrinth tome, those sutras are easier to remember. Jonas only memorizes a few paragraphs at a time. When it's about time, he leaves the small Buddhist temple, replenishes his chi, and then goes back to memorize. He will do so until he fully memorizes the sutra. He found that it was already dawn. He had another sleepless night. Just as Jonas wrote down the last sentence of the sutra, the Immortal's Labyrinth tome, which had almost ceased functioning within him, suddenly began to circulate wildly. However, this time the path it circulated on was not the path of the Immortal's Labyrinth tome, but the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra recorded on the steel. Jonas actually shed a layer of snake skin. This startled Jonas. He tore off the shed skin from his body. He had to go to the bathroom to clean his body. Looking at his body in the mirror, there was basically no difference from before. He just looked a bit more refreshed. Jonas then returned to the living room and logged back into the game. After seeing the information about Blood Red Tiny Person, he couldn't help but be surprised. Since he practiced Immortal's Labyrinth tome, all 4 of his attributes are at 10 points. But now, one of his physical attributes has unexpectedly become 11 points. And even though he clearly mastered the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra, it is not showing in the game. Suddenly, he seems to remember something. Trying to activate Immortal's Labyrinth tome, chi immediately restored the way Immortal's Labyrinth tome operates. When he activated the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra again, it switched to Vital Energy Technique, and there was a seamless transition between the two with no sense of obstruction. However, there are usually significant differences in the nature of vital energy techniques. It is difficult for an individual to possess 2 different vital energy techniques at the same time. Moreover, the higher and more complex the vital energy technique, the harder it is for them to coexist. Forcing training can easily lead to spontaneous combustion and death. He was thinking about whether he could enter the Buddhist temple. He heard the sudden ringing of his phone, and Dennis's voice came from inside. "Jonas, it's almost time. Let's meet at Lotus Pond. Once we arrive, Jonas will command the man-tying vines to strangle the lotus platform. After the toad lays eggs, he will order the cuckoos to hunt around the toad eggs to prevent new toads from hatching. After everything is taken care of, he ordered everyone to retreat at least 20 meters. But one of the men did not listen to Jonas's command. He ordered Blood Raven to attack the lotus platform wildly without authorization, only to see patches of blood feathers shooting at the lotus platform. Suddenly, the lotus platform exploded with a terrifying blast, turning into a downpour of blood that corroded Blood Raven. At this point, the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus was completely killed. The broken lotus platform was also dragged out. Jonas said coldly. "Bloodraven is not my responsibility. I will not compensate." Sayla, who was watching the battle from afar, couldn't help but praise Jonas for his performance. She didn't expect this kid to have known that the Buddha's heart lotus would self-destruct a long time ago. It took the military in the Western District 5 legendary living beings to figure it all out. As a homeroom teacher, Sayla has always thought that Jonas is a fallen student who only knows how to play games all day. It seems that from now on, she will have to get to know this little guy better. Jonas obtained a mythical level companion pet that can destroy everything. After fulfilling the agreement with Dennis, he couldn't wait to return to the dormitory and enter the game to hunt down and kill the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus. For Jonas, there was no difficulty at all in dealing with the blood-patterned Buddha's heart lotus. He easily completed the kill by following a standard procedure. Accompanied by a pleasant system prompt sound, a companion egg popped out. All aspects of this companion egg's data are not bad. However, compared to the real world's blood lotus, it lacks several vitality techniques. Based on Jonas's current chi level, even if it hatches, it will only be a juvenile Buddha's heart lotus. He thought about it and decided to go ahead and merge it. But when he saw that the compatibility between the mutation Buddha's heart lotus and the silver-winged ant was only 3%, he directly chose to give up and did not feed it to the silver-winged ant. However, the silver-winged ant did not show any obvious changes. It's just that the previous subtle signs of hunger were no longer present. He then hurriedly rushed to the small Buddhist temple. After he transformed the Immortal's Labyrinth tome into the smaller Prajnaparamita Sutra, Jonas directly broke into the Buddhist temple. As he expected, this time he did not die a violent death. However, the Buddha statue in the hall aroused his suspicions. With his limited knowledge of Buddhism, he had never heard of a Trimukha Buddha in Buddhism before his confusion. Suddenly, the Trimukha Buddha started to move. At one point, a mysterious formation appeared at Jonas's feet. Then it burst into a strong Buddha light and enveloped Jonas's whole body. Immediately, a vortex appeared in front of Jonas, and 3 companion eggs emerged. At this time, the voice of Vajrabhairava came from the phone. The devout Buddhist walking the world, following his true vow. Choose the blessing of us. Jonas was surprised. I can't believe there are such good things as directly sending out companion eggs. But he could not check the information of these 3 companion eggs on his phone. Jonas no longer hesitated. He closed his eyes and randomly chose one. When the golden crystalline companion egg was held in his palm, a system prompt immediately came. Mythical living being true listening has been confirmed for hatch. At this point, Jonas let out a loud yell and threw his phone out directly. The mythical living being is indeed a very powerful existence near the dimension rifts. But the problem is, the hatch legendary living being almost sucked him to death. Not to mention the legendary mythical living being. Unfortunately, Jonas's speed of throwing away the phone was still too slow. There is already a terrifying power emanating from the phone. In an instant, it sucked all the chi from Jonas's body clean. The cute pet in front of me is actually a terrifying mythical living being true listening, a legendary white dog of Ksitagarbha Bodhisattva, with the ability to listen to all things in the world. In Journey to the West, it can distinguish the true and false of the 6-eared macaque that even the gods cannot recognize. But the current appearance of true listening is not that of a white dog. Instead, it is a cute little puppy, and its terrifying attributes and data are completely extreme. Its attributes are all at the peak, and it has 4 kinds of vitality technique. Jonas couldn't help but marvel. Why is such a powerful companion pet only at the mortal level? But the prompt on the phone clearly stated it was mythical, so does that mean this initial stage is similar to the silver-winged ant, needing to mature? He tried the companion form of true listening. It instantly turned into a golden earring and fell on Jonas's left ear. Jonas only felt a sudden tingling in his ear. It was as if a plug blocking his ear canal had been removed. His left ear became clear and sensitive many times over. Sounds that he couldn't hear before. He could hear them all clearly now. Suddenly, a woman's moaning sound reached Jonas's ears. This made Jonas feel a little strange. He glanced in the direction of the sound. It turned out to be from next door. And the person living next door is none other than Anne, who is proud, aloof, and a bit problematic in the head. The sounds of painful moans came intermittently. Jonas hesitated for a moment. He decided to go next door first. But after knocking on the door a few times in a row, there was still no sound inside. It seemed that something had really happened. Jonas no longer hesitated. He mustered up his strength and charged towards the front door. He slammed into the specially designed anti-theft door of the academy several times in a row, but it didn't budge, and collapsed in pain on the ground, looking at the door in front of her without daring to make a sound. She was afraid of being seen by Jonas in her current disheveled state, when there was no more sound outside the door, and breathed a sigh of relief. He should be gone now, right? However, just at that moment, the window inside the house was suddenly knocked open. Panicked and saw who the intruder was. It was Jonas, whom she was afraid of being seen by. She said in a panic, "How could you come in from there?" Jonas also knew he was a bit abrupt, but he was also worried that Anne might have an accident. Kindly, he said he would find a doctor for Anne. But what he greeted was Anne's angry refusal. At this point, Anne even had the thought of death. Because of her physical condition, she would have stomachaches every regular interval since she was young. Jonas had heard before that girls have a few days each month that are very painful. But as soon as he said that, it made shy and angry. She picked up a cup and threw it at him. Jonas, who was kicked out of the door, appeared somewhat embarrassed. It turned out that it was all a misunderstanding. Fortunately, he is not a woman. He then returned to his room and let out a long sigh of relief after kicking Jonas out of the room. She felt that the pain in her body seemed to have lessened a lot. But when she thought of Jonas's indifferent appearance, she couldn't help but feel wronged. Do you know why a man drinks blood tonifying tea every day to replenish his blood? Since Jonas got hold of this mysterious phone, he became obsessed with mobile games. Every time he starts a game, he needs to drip a drop of blood, which has led to a serious deficiency in his vital energy and blood. He has no choice but to brew some blood tonifying tea to replenish his vital energy and blood. Jonas just brewed some tea. Duke called right after, informing him about the freshman orientation today. He wanted Jonas to join him in forming a club. After all, most of the tasks arranged by the academy need to be completed in teams. So Duke took Jonas to the central square to recruit new members and form a club. Duke's sister Demi has a high opinion of Jonas. She wants him to join her club. She mentioned that as long as he joins, he can interact with many sisters and build relationships. Duke strongly protested against the behavior of using the beauty trap on sisters. Jonas shook his head and said he had promised Duke to establish a new club with him. Demi felt somewhat helpless being rejected by Jonas. She only hopes to have the opportunity in the future to form an alliance together to complete the mission. After bidding farewell to Demi Duke, Jonas squatted on the side to find teammates. At this moment, a voice entered Jonas's ears. They looked up. It turned out to be high school classmates Rosie and Corey. Corey greeted confidently. "Jonas, didn't expect to see us here, did you? I never expected that you guys would also get into Dusk Academy." After some small talk, Duke also found out that they were all high school classmates. So they agreed readily and formed a club. Then he told everyone to go back early and rest to prepare for tomorrow's first lesson, the combat test. Upon hearing this, Jonas asked in surprise, "Are we testing in Buddha City?" Of course not. Buddha City is an alternate dimension realm that was recently discovered and has not been completely controlled yet. Freshmen won't be allowed to venture there. Rosie added, "Based on past experience, we usually choose one of the 4 relatively safe dimension realms within the academy. Each freshman only needs to kill 1 living being to complete the mission. And the more they kill, the better their grades will be." Jonas is very surprised why they are so clear about the testing. when he heard Rosie say that all this information is from the Dimension Forum. Jonas is eager to learn more about the Dimension Forum. It turns out that the Federation has established the Dimension Forum to encourage people to share information about different dimension realms. Anyone can freely post on it without needing to use real names. He had never paid attention to the complex dimension realms before, but now he is a bit anxious to go back and take a good look at this forum. As soon as he returned, he saw a girl waving to him. "Hello, my name is Lulu. I just moved here today as a special admission student. From now on, we are neighbors." Jonas responded coldly and then went back to the second floor, leaving Lulu, a little girl, standing alone in the wind. The Federation's Dimension Forum does not care about the outlaws obtaining information from the forum. There is also a generous reward system in place. Various resources can be exchanged in the mall through dimension points generated by the forum. The way to earn dimension points on the forum is by posting. One type is regular posts. Dimension points are earned based on the number of clicks. However, even tens of thousands of clicks will only earn a few dimension points. If you want to earn more points, you can choose to publish paid content. Paid posts are not restricted in terms of content. In addition, creators can freely set the pricing. In addition, the Federation itself and various academies will also release low-cost guides. Jonas wants to earn more dimension points. He thought about it and decided to post a paid post titled, "Small Buddhist Temple Guide." Sayla is browsing the Dimension Forum. She was somewhat surprised when she suddenly saw Jonas' post. The underground Buddhist city of the Academy is unknown even to the average teachers of Dusk Academy. And this person can mention the name of the small Buddhist temple. Obviously, they are an insider. But she saw this newly registered account charge 20,000 points for the first post. She doesn't know if the other party is using a secondary account to deceive people. But when she thinks that what if this is true, it could reduce a lot of people's sacrifices. She gritted her teeth and paid to open the post. After seeing the content inside, she looked incredulous. Is it possible that the mortal level's vitality technique mindfulness Zen can break the weirdness of the stone steps? Could it be that she is being taken for a fool by the other party? At this moment, Jonas is running the ancient Imperial City's dungeon. After killing the withered skeleton general once, he finally obtained the desired companion egg. After feeding the companion egg to the silver-winged ant, he commanded it to fly along the main road. The road ahead was suddenly blocked by a terrace. Far away, Jonas could see the name, Qua Terrace, engraved on the terrace, a name he was familiar with. Qua is the son of one of the 5 emperors. He is known by the title Fire Deity. So Qua Terrace, also known as Fire Deity Terrace, is where Qua observes the stars at night. However, he recalls from the history books that Fire Deity Terrace is not located within the ancient city. It should be to the southwest of the ancient city. As he pondered this, he saw a blazing fire on Fire Deity Terrace, with a fiery flame shooting up from the platform. It transformed into a fire bird and charged towards Jonas. The fire bird was too fast, but the silver-winged ant swiftly dodged the fire bird's attack using its silver wings. But Jonas did not have the same speed. He tried to call back the silver-winged ant to transform into wings, but it was already too late. Since he couldn't avoid Jonas, he decided not to hide. He struck out with an ashen palm against Firebird, but his palm made contact with Firebird's body. But it was as if he had hit nothing at all, with no point of resistance, and that Firebird had already flown into Jonas's body. The next second, Jonas's body exploded like a firework. Jonas refused to accept being reborn through dripping blood once again. Before long, he arrived at the Fire Deity Terrace. This time, Jonas was prepared. He first transformed the silver-winged ant into a companion state. For semi-transparent silver wings appeared behind Jonas. Although Jonas really wanted to fly up directly, unfortunately, his silver wings could only rise up to a height of about 10 meters, and did not have the ability to soar into the sky. He landed on the stone steps of the Fire Deity Terrace. Seeing the fire bird chasing after him again, he summoned the silver-winged ant to emit a magic light needle towards the fire bird, directly bursting the fire bird. However, the system did not prompt him that he had killed an alternate dimension living being. He was about to rush towards the top of the fire deity terrace, but he saw flames soaring from the top of the fire deity terrace. Another fire bird swooped down. Jonas dared not kill anymore. He just tried his best to shake off the pursuit of those fire birds and quickly rushed towards the top of the fire deity terrace. Unfortunately, Jonas got it wrong. Even if he didn't kill the fire birds, many fire birds would still swoop down from the top of the fire deity terrace. Jonas struggled hard, but was no match for so many fire birds. Soon, he was overwhelmed by the fire birds and died from their attacks. However, he could already see a stele standing at the top of the fire deity terrace. At the very top of the stele, Jonas faintly saw the word Emperor. He did not immediately re-enter the game, but instead pondered his recent experience. There was no prompt indicating the killing of a living being when he killed the fire birds. This suggests that they are not alternate dimension living beings. If they are not alternate dimension living beings, then they might be a type of vitality technique. The ancient city in reality is clearly named Guide Ancient City, but the game dungeon is called the Ancient Imperial City. I wonder if the stele with Emperor inscribed on the fire deity terrace is related to the Emperor in the Ancient Imperial City. He looked at his account information on the Dimension Forum and discovered a forum email. Sayla kept her phone open on the forum, awaiting Poison's reply. The discovery at the small Buddhist temple was truly astonishing. After applying Poison's method, the military finally stormed the small Buddhist temple and found a stele inscribed with the Minor Prajnaparamita Sutra. This discovery left the military high command extremely shocked. Such steles have also been found in some other mysterious alternate dimension realms. Moreover, some people have mastered the vital energy technique on the stele and even obtained a mysterious companion pet. However, Sayla and the senior military officials are well aware. This kind of vital energy technique, although powerful, is not something that everyone can train in. One must have a corresponding special physique in order to train in the corresponding vital energy technique. A volunteer tried to memorize the Minor Prajnaparamita Sutra on the stele, but before he had read many words, he clutched his head, screamed in pain, and died with blood flowing from all 7 orifices. Sayla was entrusted by General to find out the conditions for extracting the Minor Prajnaparamita Sutra from Poison this time. Poison replied to the message. Sayla quickly sent a message asking Poison if they have practiced the Minor Prajnaparamita Sutra. She expressed willingness to pay a high price to purchase information about the conditions of the trained sutra. Jonas was slightly taken aback. He didn't know what physical condition was still needed for the trained Minor Prajnaparamita Sutra. However, he suddenly had a moment of enlightenment when he thought about it. When he observed the stele in the Immortal's Labyrinth tome had alleviated his pain and helped him practice the sutra. However, he didn't want to tell anyone about the Immortal's Labyrinth tome, so he closed the forum. He kept Sayla waiting anxiously for his message in front of the computer. Sayla felt very upset after waiting for Jonas all night. Not only was she stood up, but she also stayed up all night and ended up with dark circles under her eyes. But today is the first day of school. She still dressed up and arrived in the classroom. "Hello everyone, I am your mentor Sayla." Upon seeing the teacher being so unrestrained, Duke boldly teased, "Teacher, who does that Sayla belong to? If you don't have an owner yet, you can consider me." Sayla has long been accustomed to such teasing scenes. She calmly replied, "Of course you can. But the premise is that you must be able to graduate successfully under my guidance. Next, I will assign you the first task of enrolling. It is also your first test upon entering the school. Those who fail to pass the test of killing a demonized general of Tiger Lock Pass within 10 days will be eliminated and expelled from school." The originally noisy classroom suddenly quieted down. This requirement is really too difficult for these freshmen. Sayla adjusted her glasses. "As long as you are willing to put in the effort. 10 days is enough time. Starting now." I will open the Tiger Lock Pass access for classmates for 10 days. After she handed out the passes, she left directly, leaving a room full of shocked students. Duke rested his chin on his hand, feeling that the test was quite tricky. Jonas, on the other hand, looked bewildered. Duke explained, Tiger Lock Pass is a remnant of an ancient battlefield. As a result, the alternate dimension living beings inside become very powerful. The demonized general is also considered to be a mid to high-level entity among legendary living beings. It is said that some special demonized generals have even reached the peak of legendary status. And most of us freshmen are almost all mortal. Upon hearing this, Jonas was quite interested and planned to go and investigate first. At this moment in the office, Kenzo looked at Sayla and said, Using the test questions from the special admission student 2 years ago on regular students doesn't seem quite right. Sayla simply wanted to give these freshmen a wake-up call and didn't actually intend to discourage them. And she had already posted the strategy for defeating the demonized general on the Dimension Forum. As long as they could look up the information, they could pass the test. After all, they will be facing the battlefield of the future. But it is far more than that. Tiger Lock Pass is also underground. Jonas and Duke presented their passes to enter the ancient battlefield underground at Tiger Lock Pass. Groups of demonized soldiers roamed around. The demonized soldiers were all ragged and had bloodshot eyes. Duke took a look around and realized they were all demonized soldiers. He wanted Jonas to explore and see if they could encounter the demonized general, but cautious Jonas had no intention of taking such a risk. He just wanted to find the small hand mark here. After finding the mark, he took a picture with his mysterious phone. Successfully, he downloaded the Tiger Lock Pass game dungeon. Jonas finally got a new dungeon. Now he could showcase his skills in front of the teacher. However, before that, he studied the information on the Dimension Forum. The guide only mentioned how to defeat the normal demonized general. If he encounters an engraved demonized general, he must immediately move away. He doesn't understand what it is all about. He still needs to enter the game to experience it personally. With Jonas's strength, it is easy to kill ordinary demonized soldiers. Groups of 3 to 5 demonized soldiers pose no threat to him. He rushed towards the direction of Tiger Lock Pass. The silver-winged ant kills the demonized soldier as easily as cutting vegetables. He rushed a few miles, and suddenly saw a demonized general riding a demonic horse galloping towards him. The demonic horse was all crimson, like a ball of fire. Its speed was astonishingly fast. He was in front of the silver-winged, and almost in the blink of an eye. The demonized general was exceptionally majestic. The weapon in his hand looked even more bizarre. It somewhat resembled the trident of Aquaman in Mythical. When Jonas's gaze swept over his helmet, he noticed a circular shallow groove on the forehead of the helmet with the character Boo engraved on it. The demonized general thrust his spear towards the silver-winged ant, unleashing a powerful chi energy from the tip of the spear. On the other hand, the silver-winged ant swiftly dodged the demonized general's thrust using its silver-wing flash. At the same time, its tail needle flickered and shot out a magic light needle, piercing straight into the demonized general's back. The demonized general roared angrily. The flames blossomed on his body like lotus petals, blocking the magic light needle with a solid light and shadow. At the same time, the trident in his hand, emitting a terrifying flame, once again aimed at the hovering silver-winged ant. Jonas quickly had the silver-winged ant fly up tens of meters into the air. He intended to take advantage of the demonized general's inability to fly to avoid his attacks. But who knew that the demonic horse under the demonized general's seat leaped up,